Dracula Untold 2014, directed by Gary Shore, reimagines the origins of one of cinema's most iconic monsters, Count Dracula, offering a new take on the classic tale. The film focuses on the character of Vlad Tepes, Luke Evans, a warrior prince who, in a desperate bid to protect his people and his family from the invading Ottoman Empire, turns to dark forces to gain supernatural powers. The film blends elements of horror, action, and historical drama, offering a fresh origin story for the legendary vampire. The horror elements in Dracula Untold are somewhat toned down compared to traditional vampire stories, as the film leans more heavily into its action and fantasy aspects. While the film certainly has its share of dark, atmospheric moments, such as Vlad's transformation into the monstrous Dracula and the terrifying creatures he can summon, the horror is less about raw terror and more about the consequences of power and immortality. The film explores the idea of a man becoming a monster to protect those he loves, which is both tragic and unsettling. The transformation of Vlad into Dracula is shown as a means to an end rather than a desire for evil, which gives the character more depth and complexity. The horror here is more psychological, with Vlad's internal struggle between humanity and monstrosity taking center stage. However, the supernatural elements feel more like an added action device rather than something truly terrifying. The film's horror is more subdued, with fewer moments of outright fear or grotesque imagery. It's not the kind of horror that will send chills down your spine, but rather a darker fantasy with gothic undertones. Luke Evans delivers a strong performance as Vlad Tepes Dracula, bringing both vulnerability and intensity to the character. His portrayal of Vlad as a devoted father and husband adds emotional depth to a character who is typically seen as a pure villain in other adaptations. Evans manages to humanize the iconic character, portraying his internal struggle as he grapples with the consequences of his decisions. His physicality and action sequences and emotional resonance in quieter moments show his range, making him an engaging lead. Charles Dance, playing the mysterious and powerful vampire master, is as commanding as ever, offering a performance that is both chilling and enigmatic. He serves as the catalyst for Vlad's transformation into Dracula, and his scenes with Evans are some of the film's strongest. The supporting cast, including Sarah Godin as Mirena, Vlad's wife, and Dominic Cooper as Mehmed, the Ottoman Sultan, offer competent performances, but they don't add much complexity to the film. Gadon's character serves as the emotional anchor for Vlad, though her role is somewhat underdeveloped, and Cooper's portrayal of the antagonist feels more one-dimensional compared to the more nuanced Vlad. Dracula Untold comes across as an action-heavy, fantasy-infused reimagining of the Dracula mythos. For fans of classic vampire tales, the film may feel a bit watered down, as it leans more into epic battles and supernatural powers than into the kind of suspense or horror that typically defines the genre. The film's tone shifts toward fantasy and action, with dramatic sequences of battle and bloodshed that at times feel more like a superhero origin story than a traditional horror film. The visual effects are impressive, especially in depicting Vlad's transformation and the dark powers he gains. The film's action sequences are well choreographed and deliver the thrills expected from a blockbuster, with dramatic, high-stakes battles between Vlad's forces and the Ottoman army. However, the film's horror elements are less pronounced, and those expecting a true horror experience might be disappointed by the lack of genuine terror or more disturbing moments. The exploration of Dracula as a tragic hero is an interesting angle, but it doesn't quite have the emotional weight to make the audience truly sympathize with him. Dracula Untold offers a fresh and action-packed take on the Dracula legend, focusing on the origins of the infamous vampire as a tragic hero. While the film delivers solid performances, particularly from Luke Evans, and boasts impressive visual effects, it falls short in delivering the kind of horror fans might expect from a Dracula film. The horror is more subdued and psychological, leaning more toward fantasy than traditional terror. The film works better as an action adventure with supernatural elements than as a full-fledged horror experience. For audiences who enjoy a mix of fantasy, action, and the classic Dracula mythology, the film will provide an entertaining ride, but it may not leave a lasting impact in the horror genre.